Today we are covering roots. Be forewarned, this is quite a difficult watch. In Juffure, West Africa in 1750, Europeans arrived and it exacerbated the slave trade. The Kinte family are loyal warriors to the Mandingo king, who kept slaves. Their rivals, the Koros, are slave traders loyal only to themselves and willing to sell to Europeans. Omoro Kinte and his men show up and disrupt the Koros human trafficking schemes. They are able to free some of the captured people. Suddenly, drums start beating, signifying Omoro's wife finna poop out a baby, so Omoro rushes home. Back in the village, Binta Kinte is in mid-delivery. Omoro arrives and anxiously waits. When the drums stop, he enters and meets his newborn son. That night, Omoro takes him outside for some Lion King stargazing. He names him Kunta Kinte. Years later, Kunta watches his crush Jinnah dance. And I just know Kuna finna dance with Jinnah. Kalabi Koro jumps in, does the Mandinka version of a marriage proposal, and the crowd goes wild. Kunta butts in and says he can't marry her. As they're about to fight, family members intervene before the moment goes viral on TikTok. Afterwards, Kunta is abducted by Omoro. Then his uncle Silla drags him along with several other hooded boys into the forest. The Kintago announces that only the bravest will become royal warriors to serve their king. Losers will be disowned and probably gossiped about forever. Training begins. They're forced to cross the river, and while doing so, they witness women and children who are chained up. Next, no one is able to successfully ride a horse. Then the boys are forced to row a canoe. They are given sticks for naval combat, and they must fight Silla wielding an actual javelin. Kunta ignores the rules, leaps into the enemy canoe, and tackles his uncle. Kintago isn't impressed with the improv, so he punishes Kunta. He offers Kunta a lifeline. Beat everyone back to camp, and he can keep training. Kunta takes off. He comes across a canoe with a corpse from his village and spots Koro slave traders. He reports it to the grown-ups, and Omoro bumps up the final ceremony, aka the trimming. They boys are all wearing hoods, not realizing their hooded tips about to get chopped. The boys scream in pain as they say bye to their foreskin. Feeling lighter, they triumphantly return to the village. Kunta gets special warrior beads from mom and a horse from dad. Kunta reveals his plans to study in Timbuktu, but apparently dreams aren't allowed. He storms off and finds Jinnah, who's rejected Kalabi, but she's upset that Kunta plans to marry books instead of women. He promises to be the warrior she deserves. The moment is ruined when Koros jump out of the bush and announce they're taking Kunta ransom. Jinnah runs and Kalabi tries to shoot her, so Kunta stabs him. Kunta rides off while Jinnah is captured. As Kunta is about to escape for good, his horse gets shot, and he's pinned down long enough for the fugly men to capture him. They decide to sell him to slavers instead. While in line to be branded by mayonnaise people, he sees his uncle Silla try to escape, but is shot and recaptured. Eventually, Kunta wakes up on a ship with Silla nearby. It is so cramped that it is difficult for Kunta to breathe. They're force-fed even though Kunta would rather die. Soon, the slaves begin talking. Different tribes, one shared goal: survive and escape. Silla says they will not survive as enemies. The women above deck send coded messages through songs in their language. They hope to take the boat from the sour creams. The next day, they're brought on deck and Silla's arm is infected. They sing in their language again to assess the situation. Then, the captain demands the girl he likes be brought to him. It's Jinnah. She fights back and tries to throw herself overboard, but fails. The captain decides a warning is in order, so Silla's arm is chopped off. Next bath session, Jinnah is summoned again. The women have hidden an axe in the laundry and sneak it near Kunta. Mutiny time. Kunta uses the axe to release himself from the chains. However, many are shot as they all move closer. Even the women help stab some of them. One guy aims the cannon and Kunta nails him with a javelin, but the captain manages to fire and even shoots one of his own. Then reinforcements arrive and why one of them melanated. Heads are displayed on spikes, including Silla's. In Annapolis, Maryland, 87 days later, Kunta is sold. He is inspected by a man in a very gay manner, touching Kunta's goods. Kunta tries to recruit the wagon driver Samson for an escape plan, but Samson declines. Kunta escapes and nearly crashes into a fancy-dressed man named Fiddler before Samson tackles him. The overseer Connolly arrives and beats Samson for allowing Kunta to escape. John Waller strolls in, looking like he sweats out mayonnaise, and he separates families to be sold. Connolly whines that Samson is basically dead weight now, so John decides to sell Samson too. Kunta is locked in a shed, and John's wife Elizabeth wanders in. John arrives with his brother, Dr. William Waller, and Connolly shows up with Fiddler. Samson's gone, so Fiddler is appointed Kunta's babysitter. He protests, but no one listens, and Elizabeth names Kunta Toby, after a horse, Elizabeth a hoe. Fiddler ends up teaching Kunta the ways of obedience, as he'll get in trouble if Kunta disobeys. One day a girl hits him up saying he can touch her kitty tonight, but Kunta refuses because he doesn't want his child to be born a slave. 4 months pass. Kunta sees a piece of metal under a wagon. He picks a fight as a distraction and pockets it. That night, Kunta hums a song, and this reminds Fiddler of his mom. He ends up bawling his eyes out remembering his family. After he leaves, Kunta pulls out the tool and gets to work. Months later, Elizabeth sweetly asks Toby to take care of her horse, but Kunta won't answer to a white boy's name, so John slaps him. Count your days, founding father, look in Oz. That evening, Kunta asks which road goes north, and Fiddler actually tells him. He also hints that Christmas means low patrol. Come Christmas Eve, Kunta breaks his chains. Fiddler walks in mid-escape and decides to help. He'll play music as a distraction. When the violin starts, it's go time. Before leaving, Kunta asks what Fiddler's name was before. He says Henry. The white folks gather around Fiddler. Kunta takes a horse and escapes. By the time they spot the broken shackles, Kunta's gone with the wind. But Connolly catches up to him and they face off. Kunta tries to go Mandinka warrior on him, but gets knocked out. Fiddler's called out to see Toby's return, and Connolly accuses him of helping. He beats and stomps on Fiddler, but Fiddler fights back, pinning him. Connolly demands he be sold, and John agrees. Then William announces he'll take Fiddler as partial payment for John's debt to him. So Connolly turns his anger on Kunta. He makes him say his name, Toby. But Kunta stubbornly insists it's Kunta. After countless lashings, he finally chokes out, Toby. As he hallucinates his parents turning away, Fiddler tells him no matter what they call him, he is Kunta Kinte. Part 2. By 1782, Kunta is still trying to escape. He charges Connolly like a linebacker and finally deletes him. It's during the Revolutionary War, so he ends up joining the British to help gain his freedom. However, he soon finds out that white people stay white. The big back man tells him that they will not be given any guns during their battles. Of course, it's a bloodbath. Kunta manages to escape with a fellow friend in the water. Kunta manages to kill 2 men, but unfortunately, his friend does not make it. Days pass, and he's soon recaptured by an obese Jon Snow. He's tied to a tree, and the man chops his feet so he has trouble running again. Days later, Kunta wakes up to Bell. Fiddler tells him they're now on William's farm, both acquired via the same debt deal. Days pass, and Bell helps to nurse Kunta, even giving him crutches. But Kunta treats her like crap, so she yells at him for giving up on life so easily. Eventually, he learns how to walk again. One day, Bell goes on about how William is a broke ass and has to drive himself since his driver pulled a Kunta Kinte. Meanwhile, Fiddler sends a horse rampaging out of the stables. Kunta calms it and rides it bareback to William like a boss. The overseer Spaulding scoffs, but Bell goes ahead and proposes Kunta be the new driver. William agrees. In the middle of the night, Spaulding wakes up Kunta to show him the dead driver that had escaped to threaten Kunta to not escape again. Bell saves Kunta by coming up with an excuse saying William is asking for him, just in time before Spaulding does anything. A year later, Kunta drives William to a secret rendezvous with Elizabeth. Oh, I just knew that, wifey a hoe. On the way home, everyone's celebrating the end of the war. The next day, a woman was so overworked, she ends up dying and gives birth to her baby boy. William is able to extract the baby and blames Spaulding for overworking her to death. William names the baby Noah. Soon after, Kunta proposes, and Bell says yes. Fiddler officiates the wedding, but John's carriage crashes the party. Elizabeth is giving birth, and Kunta has to drive William. On the way home, William says the baby girl is named Missy. Kunta shades him and says he's sure William loves her like his own, but William feels attacked and whacks Kunta. Because of this, Kunta plots murder, but Belle tells him to behave because she's pregnant. She says this isn't her first child, but the others were sold and separated from her. Months later, a baby girl is born. Kunta takes his daughter out and brings Fiddler along. A bunch of white men appear and demand money or the baby. Fiddler fights them so Kunta can escape. He takes out 2 men before getting stabbed. Kunta finishes off the last attacker, but when he returns, Fiddler's gone. Kunta rushes home and tells Belle they need to get out of there. Belle begs him not to endanger them, and they can just blame the deaths on Fiddler. He finally gets his shit together and names the baby Kizzy, then raises her up to the stars. Years later, Kizzy and Missy are little buddies. Missy even gives her some hand-me-downs and they go out and play. However, a cracked-out man grabs Kizzy, so Missy hits him in the balls and they run. Missy teaches Kizzy how to read. Kizzy's scared at first. Slaves get whipped for learning, but Missy swears it'll stay their secret and promises to be BFFs. One day, a bitchy girl named Abigail keeps calling Kizzy the N-word, so Missy decides to chase the little hoe with a scissor. Then Kizzy is told to get them refreshments, so Kizzy decides to squish a caterpillar in Abigail's drink. On Kizzy's birthday, 9 years later, Missy gives her a gift. Eventually, it leads to them reading a biology book about the female anatomy. Missy eventually says it's her right to be able to see if Kizzy has any hair down there, insinuating that Kizzy is her property. We thought this hoe was an ally, but she just like the rest of them. Then Noah drops by looking fine, and he says Kizzy is being called for. As the carriage drives off, she shouts out a final birthday greeting. William hears and greets Kizzy too. He tells Kunta it's time to find her a mate and suggests Noah be the one. Kunta is freaked out and threatens Noah to never touch Kizzy. Then he starts training Kizzy in riding and survival skills. He sends her on a final survival test. Belle is this close to crashing out, but then Kizzy returns victorious. Kunta proudly gives her a string of warrior beads. Kizzy and Noah become friends and she teaches him how to read. As they discuss Noah's escape plans, Kunta barges in and scolds Kizzy for learning how to read. However, Kizzy says this is her way of being a warrior. When a storm comes, the family goes all to the big house. Kunta even saves Missy from getting hit. Kizzy convinces Noah it's the perfect time for his escape, and Noah says they should escape together. However, Missy kisses him goodbye. All the white people shelter safely underground, while everyone else has to find a way to stay safe. The next day, mostly slaves have died. Then the militia sets out to hunt Noah. They find him and shoot him down. Afterwards, the Kuntas are summoned to the house. William shows Belle the road pass found on Noah, written by Kizzy. Belle is stunned. Kizzy is ordered to be taken away and begs Missy for help, but Missy lashes out, saying she betrayed her. See, never trusted that hoe. Kunta threatens to reveal that Missy is William's kid, but William dares him because no one will believe him, and Kunta will be hanged for it. Kunta and Belle watch helplessly as Kizzy is carted off. She eventually arrives at Tom Lee's farm in North Carolina. Tom enters drunk and tries to take her, but Kizzy fights back, even almost burning the grapist. He takes her while his wife Patricia listens outside. Months later, Kizzy has a son. Tom is thrilled to be a dad and names the boy George after his grandfather. Kizzy cries because of the pain all of this has caused her. She has a difficult time bonding with the baby as she refuses to touch it. That night, Kizzy attempts to unalive George and herself, but ultimately chooses life. She speaks of her ancestors and raises her son to the stars. This was just the first half. Want us to cover the last half? A truly difficult watch, especially painful watching the transport of the slaves and watching families being separated. What did y'all think of this one?
Hey, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe now and turn on the notification because YouTube isn't recommending my videos. And if you like to watch more foolishness, click here or here.